Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monthly mindset Q&A. For those who are new or just coming back, what this essentially is, well, before I even get into that, my name's Desi, or Advent, for those who know me from different social platforms online, Instagram, Discord, stuff like that. For those who are new to this or coming back, pretty much what this is just like a group coaching session. You guys will ask me questions and whatever it may be, whatever you need help with. I'll give you any tips or, share some techniques and stuff that I know that can help you. And pretty straightforward. Just said we have about 50 minutes to an hour, and I'll try to get to everybody's questions. Something that I mentioned in the last one that I'll mention here again, for those who do sign up and ask questions, in order for me to ask or answer your questions, I do require you to be present. I'd rather talk to a human and as opposed to like a wall or to myself. And also just to get a deeper understanding of something that you may need help with. For the sake of the conversation, somebody may ask me that they have issues with like exiting trades, but that's kind of vague. There's like a lot of stuff that can go into, issues with exiting trades. It could be greed, it could be fear, it could be not even knowing where to get out of a trade, stuff like that. So for those who do want their questions answered, I just require you and ask that you are present with all of us. And with all that out the way, you guys can ask away.
Okay, so speaking of take profit, so the question that I sent you earlier regarding, okay, like when you have your levels, right? Your take profit levels marked, does the wick have to touch your take profit level, or the entire candle has to surpass or touch the take profit level?
So for me, as soon as the candle hits pretty much my target, like the wick or the body, whatever it may be, I just trim or take profit there. I don't really bother to wait for the candle to close.
Okay, that was a question that I was really concerned because I experienced that twice this week because I was like, should I wait till the entire candle, the fully formed candle, touches my take profit, or do I just do it when the wick? So now I know.
Yeah, definitely. Like as soon as the candle hits it, because when it hits your target, it's gonna be like a full-bodied candle. The wick is only really there if it rejects off that level, and then either retraces or just pulls back before it continues higher. So let's go to Bitcoin real quick to just show a live example.
So real quick, what you guys are saying is like if it goes to say your target is 131.50. Once it hits 131.50 is where you take profit, or you like you said, you start shaving.
Yeah, so I'm actually curious. I drew these fib levels a while back and they're still being respected. Anyway, to show an example, let's just say that I'm short, or I'll just do for the sake of the conversation. Let's say I have one target up here, at the top of this candle, and then I have, if I'm short, I have a target down here, and we're on this candle right now. And let's see if they want to do it quickly to not have us here for 50 hours. So assuming I'm short, might need to go on like the 15-second chart or something. But assuming I'm short, as soon as this current candle hits that, like the bottom of this candle, conversation, assuming that's my target, I'm going to trim immediately. So right there, that as soon as I hit it, I will be trimming profit. And then if I had another target down here, if this candle or the next one hits it, then I'll be trimming more of it.
So
For
you're saying if the wick hits the take profit, or would you take profit when the entire candle forms like it just did? You see how the wick is right there, and then it went all the way down. The entire candle touched the take profit.
yeah, so it would always be the candle itself, because
Oh,
the wicks are only there, after either they've been buying or selling the candle. So in this case, as soon as the current price hits my target, I'm taking profit. So even in this example, like we have what, 6 seconds left on this candle.
uh-huh.
I wouldn't wait until this candle closes and then, like how this candle right now hit the target. I wouldn't wait until that happens. I'll be taking profit on the previous candle.
Even though there's a wick right there.
Yep, because remember, the wick is only there because as soon as it hit that level, buyer stepped in and brought the price higher. But the wick body, same thing. As soon as the candle hits the target or the stop loss, I'm out.
Okay. Yeah, that was an issue that I was had concerns about.
Man, definitely a great question.
What's the average size are you going into a play with to be able to shade? Like, are you going in, let's say, because I know that don't apply to me because I'm small time and just getting into it, but are you going in like, let's say, with 5 contracts, and then first target hit, you take 2 off, and then second target hit, you take 2 more off?
Yeah, so usually I get between 3 and 5 contracts depending what I'm trading. If I have like a little, let's say like 3 contracts, I'll just take 1 off every target. But if I have a little more, like you mentioned, like 5, or if it's a little cheaper contract where I can get some more, I'll probably take like 2 off on the first target, and then I'll take 1 off every other target until I get stopped out. That way, if it does continue going in my favor, I have something as like a runner position.
I don't know why that sounds so risky to me, because
How
I
so?
don't know. I guess it's just my mindset, but because so like, I guess in some rooms they'll tell you add as you go along, and then I know some people that'll take off as you go along. But it's like, if I'm wrong, if I'm running 5 contracts and I'm wrong with 5 contracts, it just feels like it's a hit.
No, I
Even
definitely.
though I'm gonna cut it, but it just still feels like it's gonna be a hit.
No, absolutely. Welcome, Dion. So what I would do in that case, you can add to your winners as well. Let's say, for the sake of the conversation, let's look at this Bitcoin chart. So let's say I go short on this 212 down, and let's just assume this is like options or whatever it may be. I'll get an original contract or an original position. So I'm short here. Let's just say my stop is up here, and my target is, let's say, like all the way down here, whatever it may be. Now, if everything is bearish, and then we get this pullback, now, as we know, this is pretty much just a bearish TTO, or you could look at it as an H pattern as well. I kind of just call bearish TTOs H patterns because it's easier to look at it that way.
Okay.
But essentially, the TTO, once you get the pullback, you can do one of 2 things. You can either keep your original position, or what you can do as well, you can add to the position once it continues to the downside. So here, we get the push down, we get the pullback, and then on that 212 down, you could have taken another position, either with the same contracts, like adding to your position, or get like the next strike above that, and then opening up that position. And then that way, you have your targets down here on that TTO trade. So you can definitely add to it, or you can just open up another position with the next strike price if you want to.
Gotcha. Appreciate that.
Of course. And I in that regard, like adding to your winners, it's very weird. I'm not entirely sure why we do it. I guess as like humans, usually we'll be wanting to take profit, not necessarily add more to our position. Or rather, people usually add more to their losers than they do to their winners. So it definitely takes a little getting used to when it comes to that.
I am people.
No, I definitely hear you on that. For the most part, since I trade futures, I tend to add to my position when I'm trading futures, but not so much if I'm trading options, just because I actively trade futures a lot more than I do options. So I don't really like to babysit the move that much. And if I now have two positions open or two different positions open when I'm trading options, it gets a little difficult for me to juggle both.
Right. Because remember, I asked you that a while back when I saw that, when I was looking at your list, and I was wondering, how are you able to manage like 4 or 5 plays? But that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, yeah, like for those who don't know, even though my watch list may have like 5, 6, 7 tickers, sometimes even more than that, I only trade two things at like every day. It's either usually one option ticker, which whatever looks best for me from the list, and then just futures. The reason
Now,
being,
do you do the mini futures or just the regular futures?
like mini or micros, you mean?
Yes.
So I like to trade NQ, but I usually my max position size, I do between anywhere between 6 and 10 MNQ contracts. That way I can scale out of my positions. Now, the minis in and of themselves, if you do have a larger funded account, which I know you have some questions about that, which we'll go over in a bit.
Okay.
If you have like a larger account, you can I would use the minis, but just in the sense of like how wide I have my stop and stuff like that, I personally prefer to use the micros, and also
Okay.
scaling out, because if I only get one NQ contract, I can only really take it off at the first, second target, whatever it may be. But with them, with the micros, I can trim every set points that I have.
Okay. And set points is your levels, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I usually do, um, for the most part, most of my setups that I take on futures, I have 10-point stop loss.
Okay.
And then from there, as soon as I hit 10 points, I will trim some of my position off, and then I'll set the rest at break even, and then I'll just keep on trimming profit off as I hit my targets.
Now, do you swing with futures?
Definitely not.
Why?
One, I can't swing futures mainly because I trade on a prop firm and they don't allow you to hold any trades overnight. Overnight trading for futures is holding it from 4:59 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's like when it goes, what they consider overnight.
Okay.
So my broker, they will automatically close my position. But besides that, I highly recommend nobody swing trade futures, because you can have a real bad time. Because futures is very, very, very unforgiving, to say the least.
Okay.
So definitely do not recommend swinging futures. I maybe on Forex you can, since you can go to like really, really, really small sizes, but realistically, I personally wouldn't really bother swing trading futures.
Okay.
To me, it's too risky.
Okay. Perfect.
And there's some other things that you asked as well, which I'll go over in a bit. But Dion, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can come off mute, type in the chat. Either one is fine.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I just had a question on like basically executing trades because I'm trading options,
Mm-hmm.
but so it's like sometimes like okay, I'll do my analysis overnight. I'll see like what's in full time frame continuity and find my plays basically, but then I get stuck when I'm like executing because like sometimes I don't know what I like my stop losses aren't consistent. Like sometimes I put it at entry, sometimes I put it at the like the end of the candle, depending on how big the candle is, and it's just then it'll be going the opposite way, and sometimes I'm just trying to like hold to see that well it might go back my way. I just lost a lot of money not having a consistent execution plan basically.
And if I'm understanding correctly, after you do your analysis the night before, you're having trouble like setting, I would say maybe like setting your stop loss like at a specific level.
Yeah, like it'd be like sometimes I have it at one spot, sometimes I have it at one spot, and then but like some trade I might lose. If I do lose one trade, it might be like a very small loss, but then where it could be at on a different trade, it might be like a bigger loss.
And what's you don't need to say dollar amount, but like percentage wise, what would be a big loss for you?
I'll probably say around over 30-ish, over 30-ish or more.
30%. And how much of your account are you using in each trade?
Um, I mean, I usually have a small account, so I put it'd be a nice amount of it, honestly.
Got it. So just to make sure I'm following you correctly, let's just say these two candles here, right? And you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
two down. Would you put your stop loss on the trigger candle, like above it, like this, or would you put it above the setup candle, which will be this one?
The trigger. Sometimes I put at the trigger candle, and then sometimes I'll put it at the entry.
So as soon as it triggers, if it comes back, you'll get out immediately, right?
Yeah.
Got it. For me personally, I tend to do it at the trigger candle. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, depending what the setup is.
Right.
If it's, let's say if it's like this TTO that we had over here, and I was going short, let's just say off this one, I wouldn't really have it above the setup candle. I will put it above, like kind of where the TTO pulled back to, like the max point,
Right.
and then from there, I'll have my stop loss. Now, if the stop loss is too wide, like for me personally, I use 10% of my account in each trade. So
Mm-hmm.
if the trade will lose me more than 30%, then I won't bother trading it.
Okay.
Or I'll just let it go, or I'll just reduce my position size. That way, just the math is just easier for me, because if I risk 10% and I take, let's say, a 30% loss on the position, I'm only losing 3% of my account per trade.
Right.
And stuff like that. And of course, each trade is different. Some trades might be 10%, 15, 20, stuff like that. But generally, anything more than 20, 30%, I don't really do. Like that's like my max cutoff.
Right.
Are you trading? What time frames are you taking your trades off of?
I usually look at the higher time frames, like the 30 or above.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna recommend that the 30-minute and the 1 hour are usually what I use. If
Okay.
I am taking a trade off the 4 hour, it really depends on the specific setup that I take on that. But general rule of thumb, 30-minute and 1 hour. Like I mentioned, I'm not sure if you were here earlier, but I mainly trade futures now. So
Right.
I don't really want to babysit my option trades. And depending on the time frame you get on, you can expect that amount of time to take to hit whatever target you may have. So
Okay.
that way, while I just have my alerts there, they'll just let me know so I can flip back to that chart while I'm focusing on futures.
Okay.
And in terms of the stocks that you trade, are you like kind of trading the same things?
Um,
Like,
Pretty much. I mean, every week is different. I'm usually I do scan my play. I do scan for my the plays, but like the actual stocks that I'm looking for when I am scanning, they're pretty consistent.
you said they're different or the same? Couldn't hear you at the end.
There, like there's like it's like a large variety of them, but it's like I know my go to. So when I see like certain stocks, then those are the ones I'm typically looking at.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I'll definitely recommend kind of just sticking to the same things,
Hmm.
and really just going from there, and not expanding too much because it can get a little overwhelming at times.
Uh,
Going through like a bunch of different stocks. Granted, if that works for whoever it may be, definitely continue doing that. Don't let me dissuade you from doing that. Just me personally, I do find it overwhelming to like kind of trade more than two things at the same time.
okay.
Something else I wanted to ask you, in terms of your consistency right now, um, with well, I'd say with your performance or your account, whatever it may be, are you still having trouble being like consistent?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is just executing, or was there anything else?
It was executing. I also had to I was trading, but I wasn't like 100% focused on my trade, so that would cause me to make mistakes when I was getting in trades. So I just but I already fixed that issue. I just if I can't focus on trading, I just leave it alone.
Perfect. Yeah. I was going to mention that, when we're trading, just make it, be as focused as you can. If there's a bunch of distractions, then it's probably best not to trade. Do you work from home or do you like go out to work?
Go out to work.
And at your job, do you get pretty busy for the most part?
No, it's like when I'm on my way to the job, that's when the market open. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to start getting there earlier just so I could I could be there at least like 10 minutes before the market opens so I could overview the market before I even get in and stuff like that.
Mhm. Um, do you usually trade market open?
In my trigger, I usually trade whenever my trigger is triggers. So sometimes it could be like when the market first opens, sometimes it could be an hour or two in.
Got it, got it. Cool. Just making sure. Do you journal at all?
No.
I highly, highly recommend you start journaling.
Uh-huh.
If you're not really sure what to journal, um, just a few things that I'll recommend. Start journaling, or when you journal, be sure to write down, and I'll actually type this in the chat, uh,
Okay.
down the date, write down, like how much you made,
Mm-hmm.
write down the time frame you took the trade on, and the ticker that you're trading, and the time that you took the trade on. Just some things. So,
Okay.
writing down the date is important because we got to figure out what your most profitable day is. Like for me,
Okay.
usually for Mondays, I kind of just let it open. I don't really trade too aggressively on Mondays just because I want to see how
Right.
it opens up. Wednesdays, I don't trade, since those are usually my red days, and I don't like to trade back to back because I get a little tired mentally anyway. Um, Thursdays and Fridays are usually Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, usually my better days. Uh,
Okay.
also, you know, the time frame that you took the trade on. That way you can figure out what your most profitable time frame is.
Okay.
Like for me, for example, like I mentioned, the 30-minute and 1 hour, when I'm day trading, you know, taking trades with the 5-minute or 15. For strat, I only really do that when I'm looking for TTOs or getting in on them. But that, like if I'm taking like just like a regular trade from one of my setups, it's usually in the 30-minute or 1 hour time frame.
Okay.
This way you can figure out what your most profitable time frames are too.
Right.
I find some people, they have a lot of issues on the lower time frames when they should be on the higher ones just to see the trend at a better, to see the, you know, the bigger picture, because you can get lost in the lower time frames. And then of course, like I mentioned, you know, writing down the ticker, that way, you know, all right, do I make more money on this ticker than this one compared to, you know, whatever other one? Like for me, for example, when I would trade Meta for whatever reason, I would usually end up red. So I kind of just stopped trading it after a while. And I kind of just have like a handful of stocks that I just trade all the time. I already know how they move, the contracts, all that stuff. So it's good to know that. And then so one other last thing is, you know, the time that you took the trade, you know, alongside what day is your most profitable day, you know, what time is your most profitable time? Like for me, I make the most money in the first 2.5 hours of the day. So from like open to 12 noon Eastern. After that, I kind of just stop for the day, or I'll come back at 1 p.m. after lunch is over and see if a setup is setting up. And if it isn't, then I just call it a day there.
Okay.
But
And do
yeah,
you my bad to cut you off. Do you recommend me like writing down like the setup that I see as well?
yeah, write down the
Okay.
specific setup that you take. You know, was it a 2-1? Was it a 3-1?
Right.
And also like write down, um, you know, what did you see in that trade that made you get in? That way you
Okay.
can start building that I'm not sure if muscle memory is the correct term to use, but
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
that memory, that way when you're looking at the charts, you can be like, oh look, this thing is setting up.
Right.
Exactly like last time. I know that the probability is high on this trade. I'm gonna take it. And then you can take it with
Okay.
confidence. Um, even for example, like I don't think we'll have one here, but um, you know, like Momo hammers for those setups, if the 4 hour and the 1 hour and even the daily are in the same direction, I already know that if I see like a hammer on the 30-minute or the 1 hour, um, that you know it's setting up the Momo hammer trade, and then as soon as that next candle triggers, I'm in there and I don't even think twice about it. It doesn't have
Right.
to be an inside bar, it could be like a 2-up hammer, stuff like that. um but you know, I already know what to look for um
Mm-hmm.
when that's setting up. So as soon as it's there, boom, I take it immediately. So definitely, you know, all the things that I went over and the same thing that you just said, um you know, the reasoning, I'll write that down too, and the reasoning behind the trade. That way, you can start getting familiar with different patterns, you know, different setups, stuff like that. Um, and then you can also start building your playbook.
Okay, cool.
Playbook is very, very important. If you're not familiar with it, just go on YouTube, put like, you know, trading playbook or whatever it may be, um, where they'll explain what that is.
Okay.
Cool.
Got to appreciate that.
Absolutely. And also, I recommend for you to paper trade the next week or two, just to implement all these things, you know, using the 30-minute or 1 hour time frame if you are day trading.
Okay. And Webull has a paper trade, right?
Yep. And I
Okay.
recommend resetting the value of the account to what you will realistically use on your account. And
Okay, yeah.
what I
Right, yeah.
recommend is not to, well, how do I put this? As you paper trade to build the consistency and, you know, find your setups and stuff like that, once you find what works for you, literally just keep on doing that. You know,
Okay.
you don't need to know everything under the sun, in my opinion, to succeed in trading. Just need to find out what works for you and whatever is consistent, and just kind of just keep doing the same things day in and day out.
Cool. I'll get to that tonight.
Beautiful. Cool. More questions, please.
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
My question is regarding the futures. So you know how when we go and mark our levels on the day and then work our way down to whatever entry that we use. So does that still apply? Like when we do an options and futures, does that format still apply?
You can still like chart out the, the whatever symbol or whatever future you're trading,
Mm-hmm.
with like the 2 hour level, 4 hour level, 1 hour, stuff like that. You can definitely do that. Um, I don't like I do it kind of, but not the same way that I would do it with like I'm trading, strat or options and stuff like that. But well, mainly because, like I mentioned, I mainly trade using like the fib retracements or Fibonacci retracements, and some ICT concepts here and there. But for the most part, I don't necessarily chart the same way on futures that I would on like if I'm trading regular stock.
But would you still use the combo setup for futures, like the 3-1 or the 2-1 or the 2-2 continuation?
When it comes to futures, not uh, to me, I would just say no.
Okay.
Because trading strat on futures, you can get killed pretty quickly when it comes to the pullbacks. In the sense of, let's just say, let's go to NQ actually, since I usually trade that. And also, quick question. I know that you had one in regards to broader informations. I do have my
Yes.
broader informations on futures.
Uh-huh.
I don't really use them. Um, very, very, very rarely that I'll take a trade off of broader information. Like it would have to align with something else for me to take it. But for the most part, I don't really use strat, or I don't really use strat at all when I'm trading futures. Although it is very, very hard to unsee the strat.
Okay.
Let's say for an example, 15. Let's go to electronic. Let's just say, well, it is after hours, so it's not going to be as dramatic. Let's say if I'm trading strat, a 17-point stop for me personally would be a little too wide.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, when the candles pull back, sometimes it can be very, very strong, especially if it's like on NQ. ES, I don't really trade that much anymore. NQ to me is kind of just like the perfect balance of speed and like the quickness in the way that it moves. And I'm already aware of like, what to look for when I am trading it. To me, NQ is just a little more fluid. But all in all, if you are going to trade futures, I do recommend looking more into ICT concepts
Okay.
when trading it, just because the entries are going to be a lot more precise. Like I mentioned, I mainly use futures. I mainly trade the use Fibonacci when I'm trading futures. And I'll in the recording of this of this session, when I put on YouTube, I'll put the link to Trust course where I learned it from.
Okay.
But to me, the fibs, it's pretty much bread and butter. Really, really simplifies future trading for me. Doesn't really, to me, the complexity that other strategies would make certain things, to me, is kind of unnecessary, at least after I learned the fibs. But there are little things here and there that I'll add in, like, fair value gaps. Liquidity in general, whether you trade strat, futures, or options, whatever, liquidity in and of itself is still important to know.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend searching up on that. But yeah, I don't really, all that to say, I don't really recommend strat when trading futures.
Okay. So my next question is, how many points do you allow yourself before you take profit? Or do you just basically take profit based on the levels that you marked?
So when I'm trading futures, let me see if I can find a specific setup. After 10 points, I start to scale out, but my other targets really depend on the setup that I'm trading. Let's bring up. So let's just say, let me see if this will be a valid one. Nope. Maybe on the 2 minutes. I'm looking for something specific to show you. Didn't really happen on these. Let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, that I'm going to take this H pattern right here down, and let me see how far it is, just so it makes sense. Let's just say I get up here. The target all the way down here is 30 points. So in this specific case, let's say if I get up, let's just say I get up, I enter in right here. My stop loss, like I mentioned, is going to be 10 points, but I'll start taking profit at 10 points right here. And then I'll be looking for this H pattern to complete, which will be breaking the bottom of this candle right here.
Okay.
Or hitting that level. So if I enter here, my max target is going to be about 27 points for this specific trade, which is what I'll be looking for after I take my initial profit. Now, of course, depending the setup, I may just take profit off every 10 points until it stops me out. Some other ones, like if I'm taking H patterns, I'll trim at 10 points just to secure something, and then I'll be looking for it to complete the H pattern down here once it breaks that low, or the TTO, however you like to view it. Now, this specific.
So my question is, when you said that you would wait until the H complete, so when the H complete, are you still in the trade?
No, what I would do, so let me actually sign into paper trading so we can do a live example. I forgot how to do this. Well, I guess that's so weird. It's not showing nothing here. It's weird. Well, let's just say that I entered here for the short. My stop is 10 points or so. I'm going to have my take profit order just sitting at that level. So as soon as it hits it, I get out immediately. The reason being is because futures, especially NQ, let's say it hits that, it can bounce 10, 15 points if it doesn't like break and keep on flushing down. So as soon as it hits it, I'm going to just take my profit immediately. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Because I was wondering when you said the H, like, are you staying in it? Because that's a lot of pullback right there.
Yeah, like this pullback right there would have been scary, because this right here was just it looked like a 2 up, Actually, if it opened, interesting. Oh wait, whoops. This right here was just a gap. That's why we opened up here, then came down. But yeah, that pullback would have almost went right back to entry. But what I
Right.
do is after I take profit at 10 points, I'll move my stop to break even, or maybe like 1 point in profit. So if it does come back, I just get out of the trade. But in this case, it wouldn't have hit my entry and just kept on flushing down to my target down here.
Okay.
And let me see if I can show you an example on Tradeovate, if this would load up. Give me a sec, the broker's loading up. There we go. Right, hopefully this shares most of my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. So what I do is, this is on M and Q. So what I do is, let's say I have, well, let's just zoom out a bit. Let's just say I have what I'll do is I'll open up 2 orders of like a 5, 2 and 2 of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them I'll bring down to 10 points. And then the other one, based on whatever I'm looking for, I will just move it up. And then I'll just move my stop up on my other position until I get stopped out. One thing that I do recommend, if you haven't already, set up your ATM settings. That way, as soon as you like put in the trade, it has you take profit and your stop loss already there. Because kind of like fumbling in between it can get a little hectic. And for futures, speed is definitely of the essence.
So you always keep it day instead of good to cancel.
Yeah, it's always day because good to cancel. If the trade triggers overnight or when I'm sleeping or not at my charts, even though I have my ATM settings set, I rather not have it there, when I'm not attentive to it. So if by accident I do leave a trade open, which I never do, I always make sure to hit my exit and market close everything, just to make sure. But just to be safe, because you don't want any trade opening up like when you're, like I mentioned, when you're sleeping or whatever it may be. I actually lost a funded account when I was still using EliteTraderFunding, which was pretty annoying. But I learned that day to always double check with any pending orders.
Okay.
Because Apex, they do automatically close your positions, but Elite Trader does not. So if you do leave a position open, it'll automatically fail, or you'll lose your your PA account, or your past account if you have a position open. So always day, and always, when you log off, just make sure you don't have any pending orders there.
Okay, so you see where you have it set 10 point. If you want to, you can change that to whatever number you want.
Yeah, so this is just what I have it, what I named it. But in the settings, you can just make it whatever you want. So I have take profit at 15 points, and then I have my stop loss at 10 points, which is 40 ticks. Every 4 ticks is 1 point. So you could just adjust that to whatever you want. You can make it 5 points, 10, 15. Personally, anything less than 10 for futures, or at least for NQ anyway, will be a little too much in my opinion. I mean, sorry, too tight, because NQ, like one candle could be like 20 points. So
Oh,
you definitely want to give it some room. Cool. Anybody have any other questions?
you answered my question. Thank you.
Of course. Oh, I see some other things that you mentioned. I forgot. Well, I guess with the ticks, I kind of hit that. Brokers, for whoever wants to get into trading futures, first and foremost, I recommend if you have TradingView or even Thinkorswim, just paper trade futures until you get used to it and your strategy actually works. And then from there, if you do want to use like a prop firm, you can use Apex. Well, I've only ever used Apex and EliteTraderFunding. Apex I like because I'm not sure if Elite changed it, but Apex you can get at least 2 payouts. They give you the rules, the trailing drawdown, kind of everybody has that for the most part. But in my opinion, it's good to have just so you are disciplined, whatever it is that you're doing. Because people can get a little trigger happy with the amount of leverage they give you. And just a little tip, like the 100K accounts, 300K, whatever those may be, to me, that's kind of like a gimmick in the sense of, I think, let's say for a 25K account, it's not really a 25K account. I think the max drawdown they give you is about 1,500. So in reality, you're really just trading a $1,500 account. It's just like the illusion that you're trading a really big account because like the bigger numbers that they have there. So if you're trading like a 50K account, I think the drawdown is like 2,500 or 3,000. So you can just look at it as if you're trading a $3,000 account. So
So is that at one time? So you said you're able to draw down twice. So you're able to draw down 1,500 twice, which is 3,000?
No. So more so what I meant is like Apex lets you get paid out twice in the month. I think Elite is only one, unless they changed it. At least when I was using it, when I was trading with them, it was only one. But Apex lets me withdraw twice.
So with you withdrawing twice, it doesn't matter the amount that you have up. So if you had $20,000, just as an example, you had 20,000 for withdrawal, you're able to do that.
Yes, but you also want to give yourself some cushion. So after, I think for Apex, I have the 25K account. I think it's 26.5 or 26.9. I got to double check. That's the minimum your account has to be before you can request a withdrawal. However, the minimum is 500 to withdraw. But what you want to do is to leave yourself a cushion as well, because after you hit, I think 1,000 to 1,500 in profit, like on the actual past account, the most you can ever lose on that account is the initial balance plus 100. So in my case, I can never go below 25.1K. If I do, I'll automatically fail. But what I do is when I withdraw, let's say if I can take like $2,000 and it'll put me at like 25.2K, I wouldn't really do that because I still want to give myself a buffer just to be safe in case, let's just say my next 10 trades are losers and I was just on the wrong side of probability or whatever it may be. I still want to give myself that cushion. So, I can take some losses.
Okay, I got you.
Yep. Cool. Anybody have anything else before we wrap up?
Well, I will tell you this. I've been doing the Forex because I work during the day and I'm able to, get in some trades in the evening. or before I go to work, because I wake up like 3 o'clock, even though I have to be at work until like 9:30. I've been in the blue all week.
Nice. Happy to hear that. What are you trading?
What is that? GBJPY,
Oh, British pound, and
Japanese yen. That's it.
very nice.
And every single day this week, I've done good, which I'm very proud of myself.
As you should be. That's a big accomplishment.
And
That's
the
on
question I was asking you is how many ticks or points or pips or whatever case may be, because I'm getting like 20 and 30 and 40, and one day I was like over 90, and I was like, oh my goodness.
pips, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the way I kind of converted it from futures to like Forex or back and forth, 1 point, let's just say on ES or NQ will be the equivalent of 10 pips. So translating like my stop loss and take profit on, let's say NQ, that will be like 100 pip stop loss with like 150 pip take profit. But of course, the indices, I think like in Forex, NQ is like NAS 100, ES is like SPX 500, and then YM is US 30. So $1 move in those pairs, or not the pair, but the indices, would
Mhm.
equate to 10 pips for every dollar that they move.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But yeah, definitely glad to hear that it's going well for you.
Yeah, because I see that this is working better for me. And that's why I was asking you those questions, because I do use Strat, and I was able to kind of sort of use it, but I just see if it's like, going in my direction. My goal is to say 10, it moves 10 points or pips or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
as long as it moves that. And so I've been consistent every day moving my 10 and above.
Very nice.
But right now, my focus is on 10. And that's why I asked you that question. How many, do you recommend? Because I've been consistent with my 10.
Hmm. I would say, if that's working for you, definitely keep on doing it and just build from there. And then if you find that you can expand on that, definitely, see in what areas you can, whether it's using higher time frames or whatever it may be. And I
Now,
think,
that's the thing I have been doing, using my higher time frames, even though I'm down on a lower.
Mhm,
Like I think it's the 5 or 15, but I always use my week and my day because I always want to go in a direction.
definitely, you always want to go with the trend. Like
Yes.
going against the trend, once you get more comfortable and like you can spot, when to do so, then you can like experiment more with that. But yeah,
I'm not ready for that.
yeah, definitely a journey to get there. But no, great job. Definitely happy to hear that. Um, Other than that, let me see if there was anything else or I forget. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If Val or Dion, if you have anything else to add, other than that, we can wrap it up here.
Real quick, that's before you slide out. You see that tool that you use? I think it's a tool that tells you. Is it like an R multiple tool? Or am I mistaken?
This thing?
Yeah, that one. How how do you how exactly do you actually use that?
Uh, well, if I'm understanding your question, do you mean more so like how to use the tool itself, or
Yeah,
how,
because
or
it's
like,
telling you, it's kind of giving you an idea of if the trade goes in your direction, right? What it comes out to,
yeah, so
or am I mistaken?
essentially, let's just say if my stop is here, it'll tell you how much, it'll tell you how many points or whatever, dollar amount, cents, whatever it may be, whatever you're trading. And then
Gotcha.
wherever your target is, it'll tell you how much you'll make when you hit that point, and then the risk reward.
Now, is that
Okay.
accurate?
Yes, extremely
Even
accurate.
though, just say for example, you had 10 is it contract or 10 what do you call it?
Well, yeah, it'll be contracts.
Right. So if you had 10 contracts, it's going to tell you the total.
It depends. I think you may need to mess with the settings.
Okay.
Like, well, it has like lot size and stuff like that, which can be a
That's what I
little,
meant, the lot size. The lot size.
for Forex, it would be a little different, and it also depends on your leverage that you have on Forex. Since the maximum position that I would use is 10 MNQ, which is the equivalent of 1 NQ. If I were to hold it for this entire move, every 10 points would be $200. So in this case, I would imagine that I'll make at least like 500, like $500, hitting the target of 25.75 points. To me, I kind of just do the math like super quick, like on the spot, just so I have an idea of what's happening.
Wait, so I have a question. So the ES is $50 per contract, correct?
Yeah,
Per
the
point.
mini ES mini is $50.
Oh, so what is the NQ?
NQ is $20. So every point is $20 that it moves. And then the micros are just a tenth of that. So if you do one micro ES, that'll be $5 per dollar that it moves instead of 50. And then for NQ, it's $2.
Okay, so just as an example, so for the micros, it will be, if a person was to do 2 contracts, it will be $10 per point, correct? Because it's 5.
For ES, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for ES, if you do 2 micros, that'll be $10 per point.
And so if it was to move 10-point gain, that will be $100.
Yep, that's correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I always like do the math, just like super quick that way. So if I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take profit at 20 points, well, let's say one contract of MNQ or just 10 MNQ, then I'll be making 200 for every 10 points.
Okay. Sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. Other than that, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you, everybody, for coming through.
Thank you.
I'll probably have this post on the YouTube tomorrow, like after market close, like 5 p.m. Just to make sure that the quality is there. Other than that, again, thank you all for coming by, asking questions, and I definitely look forward to the next one. For those who are watching this, you can just click on the description, and it'll have the link to sign up. And for those who signed up already or have seen this, it's just the same link that I'll always be using.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Enjoy your week, everybody. Val, keep me updated on the time frames and your results, and we'll talk.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye.